Hey, good evening, everyone. We are live here on November 23rd, Monday night, and I appreciate those that are with us taking time out of their evenings to join us. And in just a minute, I'm going to go ahead and get started with some information, and then we will open up to questions you might have. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. And I will go through all the questions before we leave tonight and answer all your questions. If for some reason you don't want to ask your question in the chat box, you can feel free to email me at bkipper, so the letter B is in boy, KIPPER at sheltonschools.org. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might want to ask by email. And I will get back to you as quickly as I can. First off, before so you can feel free to enter your questions at any time, and then I'll read them once I get done here with my little opening. I wanted to, first of all, just wish all of our families that are here tonight and all of our families of all of our students in our community a happy Thanksgiving. I know that this is really not the way we want to do it. And I know there's a lot of restrictions in place that have recently changed. And normally we would all probably gather with many families and friends. And I know those things are going to be changing a little bit this year. I hope that everyone is able to spend time with their immediate family members and connect with those that are outside of their home, either by Zoom or FaceTime or some way, Facebook or somehow, and connect with family members that might be out of town or out of your household. I think we all, despite the fact that this has been a really rough year and none of us have ever seen anything like this before, I still believe we have a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful for being a part of the Shelton community and being welcomed into the community as somebody from outside of the community. And I know that that's not always easy to do, but I feel like I've been welcomed in, and I hope that we're all working on the same page to help all of our students be as successful as possible in these most trying of times. So I would like to thank our staff, our students, our families, the entire community of Shelton for allowing me to be the principal at Shelton High School. We're coming to the end of the first trimester, as everybody knows. The trimester ends on November 30th as the last day. So next Monday, a week from tonight, is the last day of the first trimester. That's also the last day that students can turn in work for credit. Once we get to the end of the trimester, and I know that teachers have already started contacting students that are in that range to receive an incomplete. So just real quickly, I sent out an email late last week with regards to our grading policy for the first trimester. Just to remind everybody that students will be issued grades of either A, B, C, a P for pass, or an incomplete, or an NC for no credit. And let me take a minute to explain the last three: the P, the NC, and the incomplete. So we know that this school year got off to a rough start, and we've been working with families, making sure that students are able to get on and complete their work to the best of their ability. We're still working under the guys from the OSPI with do no harm. We felt that the students who received Ds would be harmed in their GPA by their GPA being lowered, even though they worked extremely hard and still may have only earned a D. So students that would normally have received a D will be receiving a P for pass. That gives them full credit for the course. It allows them to move on to the next level of the course if they choose, but it does not harm their GPA. It doesn't have a negative effect on their GPA. Then there's the students that fell below a D, but met the standard to receive an incomplete. Those students typically fell in what would be like a high F range. Again, those students, we understand, worked really hard and did everything they could, but just came up a little short. So we're giving those students an opportunity to work next week from December 1st to the 4th. And the teachers will be contacting those students individually and letting them know what work needs to be made up before the end of the day on December 3rd. So by the end of the day on December 3rd, the work needs to be done. And then on the 4th, the teacher will enter a grade of P if they complete all the work. If a student chooses not to do the work for the incomplete, then that grade will eventually be converted to an NC for no credit. And let me explain the NC. So the NC of no credit works much like the P in that it does not have a negative effect on a student's GPA. If we were to enter an F into the grade report, that student would be severely negatively affected on their GPA. We felt like these students had not they had not achieved enough of the standards in the class to receive a grade, but we also did not want to punish them and have their GPA negatively affected. So an NC simply states that they did not earn credit, and at some point they will need to earn that credit in that class if it's a graduation requirement. If it's an elective, they can choose to choose another elective, a different elective. They don't have to make it up if it's an elective, they can choose a different one. But if it is a graduation requirement, they will have to make that class up at another time. There are options before, other than taking the entire class over again, there are other options such as credit recovery in fuel ed, summer school, or retaking the class. One of these next, either second or third trimester. I would recommend that if your son or daughter receives an NC, that you contact their school counselor and make arrangements and discuss the options and find out whether it is a graduation requirement or not. And then you can make the decision on the path you want to take to make up that credit. Again, the NC does not negatively affect their GPA. If students would receive an F, it would negatively affect the GPA. The teachers this week, they may, I know that some have already started, but this week the teachers will be contacting the students that are falling into the incomplete range. And that varies by department and by course, simply because in some courses it's more difficult to make up more work than in other courses. Some courses it's much easier to make up a greater amount of work. And so in those courses, the bar might be a little bit lower, but in those courses that are rigorous, some of our AP or honors courses or some of our more rigorous regular college-bound courses, it's just not feasible for a student to make up the amount of work that they would need to. So the bar is a little bit higher in those courses. But in talking to all the department chairs and all the teachers, we are giving a great number of kids the opportunity to make up and get it incomplete. In some courses, it's as low as 25 or 30%, which is, I think, showing a great deal of grace to our students in this situation. But your son or daughter will receive information from their teacher on each course they have an incomplete and what needs to be made up. We chose next week to make it up. One is because tomorrow is the last day of any new learning for trimester 1. So students would actually have Wednesday of this week and then Monday of next week, as well as December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So they really have 5 days where they can dedicate to making up this work. The departments have severely reduced the amount of work that a student needs to make up to receive the incomplete or to take care of the incomplete. So it's not like they're making up everything from the first trimester. It has been severely reduced just to those things that the teachers feel are the most important things. So because we aren't having, next week, we need a few days to transition from first trimester to second trimester on K-12. There are some behind the scene things that have to happen to get the classes ready. And so that gives us 3 days next week to really have our students that are in the incomplete range focus solely on those incompletes. We will be having an advisory class next week. We are asking all students to log into their advisory class. There's a morning session and there's an afternoon session. They're each 2 hours. The students just need to log into one of them. So I believe there's one from 9 to 11 in the morning, and there's another one from 12 to 2 in the afternoon. All students would need to log into one of those 2 sessions. There is some important information that we will be going over. We are required by the state to cover some topics that are outside of what I would call our regular curriculum, such as the high school and beyond plan, financial literacy, and social emotional and wellness. So those are things that we're required to cover with all of our students. And because we need a few days to get transitioned over to trimester 2, we felt that December 1st to the 4th was a good time to get some of this in. And so there's some really important information about high school and beyond plan that is a requirement for students. And so they'll be working on that next week to get started on it. So our freshmen will be working on starting there, and some of them may have started a high school beyond plan in 8th grade or as early as 7th grade, I understand. But so if they haven't started one, they'll be starting it. And for those students that are already in high school and are sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they'll be updating their high school and beyond plan. And again, this is a graduation requirement. So all students must do this. And so by getting this jump start next week, we're feeling that we can dedicate some time to that. And we feel that this is the appropriate time to do that. So again, we're asking all students to log on to their advisory class, either 9 to 11 or 12 to 2, December 1st through the 4th. And then other times in the day, the students can be working on their incompletes for those that have them. And so if you have any questions, please contact your teacher. You can reach out to me, or you can certainly reach out to your school counselor also. The second thing, the other thing I want to talk about is the transition to second trimester. Obviously, we all understand that first trimester got off to a rough start. We've learned a lot. And I know our students learned a lot about K-12 and how to manage it. And you know, I think everybody has learned how to persevere and kind of overcome roadblocks. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, you know, I get emails at times, and some of the emails I get, they insinuate that teachers are kind of happy with this situation. And I can tell you that's far from the truth. Our teachers are so disappointed that our students aren't in school and they're not getting to work with them in person. But it's the hand that we're dealt, and we're all working to make the best of it. I really need a commitment from our students, all of our students, that they're going to join with us and make that commitment also to get through this and to make the best of this situation. I'm trying to think of everything we can do to help our students. And I know our teachers are too. And we're not perfect, and nobody's perfect. We've made mistakes during first trimester, and we've tried to learn from them. And quite frankly, the changes that we're making second trimester are a result of mistakes and things that didn't go right first trimester. So all of you should have received a couple of emails from me regarding the bell schedule. One of the biggest points of feedback we got from students and families is that trying to do 5 classes every day was overwhelming to our students. In fact, some of our students just frankly told us they stopped working on a couple of classes and only focused on 3 classes because they just couldn't handle 5 in every day online. So we're trying to make some changes to accommodate that because we want students to earn all of their credits. We don't want students to be short. But then we also have to make sure that there's a certain standard met so that when we move these students on, we can be assured that they've acquired the learning that needs to take place to be successful in the next step of wherever they go. So starting December 7th, we will have K-12. That will be the first day of K-12 be up and running for second trimester. And on Mondays and Thursdays, so our schedule will look much like if we were in the hybrid model. If you look at the model that the district has put out in the hybrid model, this is what this schedule kind of mirrors, because we are anticipating coming back at some point. And when we do come back, we would go into the hybrid model. So Mondays and Tuesdays, or I'm sorry, Mondays and Thursdays would be first, second, and third period. Tuesdays and Fridays would be fourth, fifth, and advisory. And then Wednesday is the asynchronous day. So if we come back in the hybrid model, that would be the same schedule we will stay in. We don't have to change bell schedules again. And that was the one thing I didn't want to do, was make these changes and then worry about having to make them again once or if or when we do come back in a hybrid model. So again, 5-day school week. Wednesdays are asynchronous days. Teachers will be available, and they will be available for students to contact if they need assistance. On Mondays and Thursdays will be first, second, and third period. Each teacher will have at least a 30-minute, if not longer, live session in each of those periods on Mondays and Thursdays. So first, second, and third will have live sessions for a minimum of 30 minutes. And then on Tuesdays and Fridays in fourth, fifth, and advisory, fourth and fifth will have live sessions for at least 30 minutes. So 4 days of the week, there will be live sessions in your children's classes for at least the first 30 minutes. Remember, those periods are now 115 minutes long when you go to the block schedule. So they'll have more time with their teachers, and there'll be more time for students to get assistance in the classes during the class period. It is important that if your child can log on, they need to log on during class time. We understand that some students can't. Some students have younger siblings in the home that must be on in the morning. We understand that. And because of that, all of our teachers will record and have any new live learning. So if they do a live session first period and they have new learning, they will post either a video, a voiceover PowerPoint, or they will post the Connect session itself in K-12. So if for some reason students can't make it, they can have access to what was discussed and what was taught in the class. And that will be when there's new live learning. There will be some live sessions where teachers will simply be going over problems with students, and students will be asking for assistance. Unless if there's new live learning, then those will be posted. So advisory class, second trimester, we will have a schedule of the mandatory advisory sessions that students will be required to attend, and those will be planned out. I'll get that schedule out to parents before the end of the first trimester. And again, there are some things we have to cover that's required by the state. Again, I mentioned the high school and beyond plan, and then there's also financial literacy, and there's social emotional wellness curriculum that we're required to cover by the state. So you will have a schedule for the second trimester of all of our required advisory days. The days that there's not a required advisory activity, students can learn that time to use that time to work on their homework. Their advisory teachers will be checking in with them and be having open sessions that the students can check in with them if they have questions. Remember, your advisory teacher is a great resource for our students and our families. This teacher will be with your son or daughter. If they're a freshman, they'll be with them all 4 years. If they're a sophomore, they'll be with them for the next 3 years. Many of our students had these same advisory teachers last year. So this is a person that you're going to be connected to, and will get to know all about your son or daughter and help them navigate through high school and plan for what's happening after high school. Remember, our goal is that every student has a plan for some type of post-secondary education, training, job training, something. That's our plan and our goal for all of our students. So that's about all I have for kind of an introduction and giving you new information or covering information I've sent out by email. We do have a couple of questions. One of them is asking, students have until December 2nd to turn their NC classes into graded classes. No, they have until November 30th. So after November 30th, the only students that can turn in work are those that received an incomplete. So all of the teachers are allowing work up until the end of the day on the 30th. And so students can be working on that. If you're having trouble accessing any homework or assignments from the past, please contact your teacher. If for some reason you're not getting a response, please let me know, or let one of the assistant principals know, or let your school counselor know, and we'll get on it right away. I've made it pretty clear to teachers that the expectation is that they return emails or phone calls within 24 hours. So if that's not happening, I need to know. And then another one is, will Skyward be available for checking grades and completion of assignments all next week? If not, what dates will it be taken down? You know, Tiffany, I'm going to have to find that out because I'm a new user of Skyward, to be honest with you. I don't know all of the capabilities. I will get with Lisa Gardner, our registrar, and I will get all of that information on Monday and email it out. But my understanding is that I don't even going to say, because I don't even know. So I would be guessing. But let me get with Ms. Gardner after she's off this week for the Thanksgiving week, and let me get with her on Monday, first thing Monday, and I will email all that information out to parents about how they can check grades, how they can check completion. Completion of assignments in K-12, I would check K-12. And it would be a good idea also to maybe email your teacher and just find out, like, okay, which assignments are you expecting me to turn in? And I'm sure their teacher will work with you. Another question is, what does Wednesday mean exactly? And Brandy, I'm assuming you're talking about trimester 2, where Wednesday is an asynchronous day. So we modeled this after the hybrid model in the return to school plan. So if we were returning to school in a hybrid model, one group of students would come on Mondays and Tuesdays. Another group of students would come on Thursdays and Fridays. So we'd basically split the school in half. Half the kids would come Monday and Tuesday, half the kids would come Thursday and Friday. Wednesday would be a total online day, or what we call an asynchronous day. So synchronous learning is live online, where the teacher's either in Zoom or the Connect session. An asynchronous day is when the student's working on their own, and they may be working on their homework or getting caught up on some things, finishing some assignments, that type of stuff. And so an asynchronous day would not have any new live learning, but teachers will be available for students to contact if they have questions, they need clarification, they're struggling with something. And the teacher could open a Connect session for question and answers also. It just be there won't be any scheduled live learning on Wednesdays. And the purpose of having the Wednesday asynchronous day in the hybrid model is so that we can thoroughly clean the school before the second group of students come in on Thursday. So you got one group coming on Monday and Tuesday, a deep thorough cleaning of the school, and then you have the second group of kids coming in Thursday and Friday, and then another cleaning over the weekend before the students return on Monday, the first group. So I hope that kind of explains to you and clarified what that means. So on December 7th, when we start the trimester 2 new learning in the core, in the academic classes, the Wednesday is, again, an asynchronous day where teachers will be available online. There won't be any new lessons given that day. It'll be for students to contact the teacher if they have questions. So the students that, if you had first, second, third, and fourth and fifth on Monday, Tuesday, you may have questions on Wednesday before you come back on Thursday for first period again. That's kind of how Wednesday will work. I hope that clarified it up. Brandy, if I didn't do a good job of clarifying, just let me know in the chat box, and I'll try to do a better job. Another question is, do students need to check in on Wednesdays? Okay, so attendance, yes. So going to the block schedule, it's going to look a little different on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So the students only have to log into the classes that have scheduled work that day or scheduled lessons that day. So on Mondays, the students only need to log into first, second, and third. Okay. They do not need to log in to fourth and fifth on Mondays and Thursdays. On Tuesdays and Fridays, they need to log into their fourth, fifth, and advisory on the days we have activities. And if there are no scheduled activities, then that would be time for them to work on their homework, to get caught up, connect with their advisory teacher if they have questions, that type of thing. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they log into only the classes they have work. On Wednesdays, they would need to log into all 5 of their classes because there is scheduled learning on Wednesdays in all 5 classes. Remember, there won't be any live sessions necessarily with new learning, but they would need to go into K-12 or Google Classroom and log into their classes just like they're doing now. And let me touch on attendance. And trust me, I don't need to be bombarded with emails to tell me how bad attendance has been. I know how rough it's been getting attendance correct. It's, you know, and again, there's no excuses. We're not doing a very good job at it right now, and we need to do a better job. And we're trying every day to make it more efficient for teachers, for our families. I know that you're getting phone calls that say your kid's absent when you're standing there watching them work on their classes. So we will do everything we can to streamline this, make it more efficient. I do apologize for the errant phone calls you're getting, but it's really difficult trying to navigate working with a third party company in K-12, and we have some classes on Google Classroom, and then we have to put all that information into Skyward. And again, it's not an excuse. I fully acknowledge that we have not done a very good job at it, and we are working to do better. So hang in there with us. Again, I want to make sure everybody understands that in no way will a student be penalized for attendance. If we're making a mistake and we're not doing the attendance correctly, we are not going to penalize a student. In fact, we have direct instructions from OSPI, a directive actually, that attendance is not to be used in any way to punish or penalize a student. I can tell you that we're simply using attendance to identify those students that may need assistance, that are either not logging on, are completely disengaged, or cannot get engaged. So that's what we're using attendance for, is to follow up with students and find out what we can do to help them. So again, I apologize. It's been a mess, and we're making every effort to do better. But I would rather make, in all seriousness, I would rather make phone calls that aren't correct than not make the calls that would be correct. Because we have identified and helped many students. We will continue to do the best we can, and we will help our students. And if we get yours wrong, we apologize, but it's just, we're trying to do a better job. So there's a question about attendance, and again, I thinking about it, I may not have done a very good job. Starting December 7th, students need to log in Monday through Friday. If we were in the hybrid model, they would have attendance taken when they're in school. So let's talk about if we were in the hybrid model. So if we were in the hybrid model, a group of students would come on Monday and Tuesday. Those students are going to be in school, the attendance is going to be taken if they're there. So they don't have to do anything, they just got to show up to school and then do the work the teachers assign and the things they do in class. On Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those students that were here on Monday and Tuesday would have to log into their classes online and complete their work online. We will still be using K-12 and Google Classroom. The second group of students that comes on Thursday and Friday, they would log in online on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then on Thursday and Friday, when they're in school, attendance is taken when they're in school. Okay. But we're not in hybrid yet. So let's talk about December 7th. So December 7th, we're online 100%. But we're changing the bell schedule to look like a block schedule that will mirror the hybrid model. So on December 7th, students will need to log into all of their classes that they have that day. So on Monday, they have first, second, and third. They need to log in first, second, and third. On Tuesday, they have fourth, fifth, and advisory. They need to log into fourth and fifth and do the work. If they have an advisory activity, they would log into advisory. On Wednesday, everybody's online at home. They have to log into all 5 of their classes. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And they have to complete whatever work they're doing. On Thursday, they're back in first, second, and third. So they log into first, second, and third only. But they can log into other classes if they want, but that's the only ones they're required to log in. On Friday, they log into fourth and fifth and advisory if there's a scheduled activity, or they can log into advisory to chat with their advisory teacher or to ask questions, or they can use the time to work on another class or classes. So starting December 7th, whatever the schedule says that day, first, second, or third, fourth, fifth advisory, or Wednesday asynchronous, that's what they log into. So they will log into some or all of their classes Monday through Friday, depending on what schedule. Michelle, did that clear things up? I know we had a question about that, and I think I may not have made the distinction earlier. Does that just let me know in the chat box if that clears things up with what's going to happen on December 7th when we start with our classes. Remember, December 1st to the 4th is only advisory class. They have to log into either the morning or the afternoon, not both. They only got to do one of them. And again, I can't emphasize enough how important that work is going to be with their high school and beyond plan, with the high school and beyond plan. So I'm just waiting to see if we have any other questions come up in the chat box. I know we have I think we have a couple of staff members tonight. I saw Susie Wiersbicki putting some information in the chat box. And I know she explained who she was, but if you didn't see it, she is our freshman counselor. Her and Mr. Patching, the assistant principal, work with the Freshman Academy. And so all of our freshmen, if I have any freshman parents on here, please make sure that your child is enrolled in Ms. Wiersbicki's Google Classroom. Again, when I say enrolled, they just have to go in and sign up for it and basically put their information in so that they're in her class, because that's where a ton of information is distributed to our students, our freshman students, about things they need to be aware of as they go through high school. I also want to if there's any freshman parents know on here that we understand that this is having a huge negative impact on your child because they're trying to make the transition from 8th to 9th grade, which is probably the second hardest transition. And I always say this, if you remember back when your kids were in kindergarten, that might've been the hardest transition, going from home to kindergarten. Many a times my kids were grabbed onto my legs and wouldn't let go, but so that might be the hardest transition, but 8th to 9th grade is a pretty tough transition. And to do it in this times we're in now with the pandemic, and we understand how rough it is. So what we're doing is we're working with our district administration, and as soon as everybody feels comfortable enough, we're going to start having small groups of freshmen come onto campus for some orientation information and activities, so that when we do return to school in a hybrid model. If and when that happens, our freshman students will have an idea of kind of what's on campus, where do they go, where their class is going to be at, how they maneuver around campus, what life on a high school campus is going to be like, because many of them have never been on our campus. So as soon as we feel, after the new year, as soon as we feel and we get the go ahead from the county health department and some other groups, and our district and site administrators are comfortable enough, we have scheduled planned activities in small groups for our freshmen. So I feel it's important that they get to come onto campus before they actually come back to class. So if we have any freshman parents on there, please understand we have not forgotten that. And under normal circumstances, this would have taken place before school started in late August, most likely. We feel that's really important also. Right now, I don't think we have any new questions in our chat box. We'll give a couple more minutes. If there's any questions with regards to any of the information I gave out, or any other questions that you have that aren't necessarily pertaining to the topics I talked about earlier, feel free to ask any question you want. Susie, I know that you're on here. Is there anything you want me to add? If there's anything you want me to add, just go ahead and put it in the chat box and I'll be happy to add it. I also want to remind everybody that Dr. Apostle has his community forums that come up. Those dates should be on the district website. I would encourage everybody to listen into those and participate if you have questions for the superintendent or any other administrator. I just feel like I wished I would have discovered these YouTube forums much earlier in my career. I feel like it's a very good way to stay connected to our community, and I believe in full transparency, even if we do make mistakes. So I think this has been very valuable for me as an administrator to hear from our parents and hear the questions they have and answer them as quickly as possible. So, and I will say that I did take the loss pretty good with the Cardinals and the Seahawks last week, or earlier, last week on Thursday. I was a good sport about it. I lost a couple of bets at work, but I took it good, and I took my licks from the staff, and they gave me a pretty good time about it. So it's all in good fun, though. You got to have some fun sometimes, right? Well, I don't see any new questions, so if there are no new questions, I'm going to go ahead and end our forum. I will wait. I know I think I'm on like a 15-second delay between what I see and what you guys hear. So I will wait a couple more seconds before we end. And Brandy, thank you. And I'm glad that you're getting some good information on this, and this has been worthwhile for you, and as well as our other parents. We do plan on doing these again every other week, and I'll do a better job of getting the dates out. I know I've just been kind of putting them out as they come up, but before the end of the first trimester, I will send out an email to our families with all of the dates for second trimester. But if there's nothing else, then I'm going to say goodbye. And again, I wish all of our families a happy Thanksgiving. And though you may not be with family in person, I know that you'll be with them in spirit. And just want to wish everybody a great, safe weekend. And we will talk at you coming up. Thank you very much, and have a great night.